Apparently, I'm supposed to have an end card on these things now. I don't know. Whatever. Someday I will learn how to edit and put end cards and all that other shenanigans. For right now, it's just the word of mouth, the random thoughts as they leave my head, the weirdness, the badass game design as it just spews out. No editing, none of that stuff. This is just me talking to you, and it is time for another OGGM adventure because you, like me, you want the game world to have that OG OSR quality, but still be relevant to today's whatever. I don't know what I'm talking about. World building. Let us continue on that topic because it's still a thing. And as we said last episode of world building, the one thing that I'm noticing in this player first, let the players do whatever they want, the DM's not as important as the player prerogative philosophy that seems to be in a lot of the new modern games, is that we are not including sections on dungeon building, on world building, on an adventure building. And people just come up and say, I built a whole world over the 2-week vacation. I'm like, no, stop. Your world should start small and stay small. You've heard me say this hundreds of times. Run dungeons for a year. Build your world with one encounter at a time. Get the players together, figure out their backstories, and then just bam, go. You're adventurers, you're on the road, you turn the corner, you see something world. Bam, go. You wake up, you're in a prison. You don't remember how you got here. There was a storm, there was goblins, now you gotta break out. Bam, go. The NPC hired you to go into the cave and look for the missing shipment of rutabagas. You're at the entrance of the cave. What do? Bam, go. Build the world around the encounters. I know there is this philosophy going around of big design up front. Build the world from the edges and work the way in and have this whole Game of Thrones, Middle Earth, Vox mechanic, whatever, huge world that 99% of the time your player characters are never going to see, and most of them don't care about because the world is about them and what they want. And the world is about the story you want to tell without letting the players just totally turn it into let's just burn everything the fuck down. So don't over-design your world. Think small. Think encounter. Just one encounter. And then have that compelling story build with the encounters, with the player characters, with how the player characters interact with the... I'm going to sneeze. I'm not. With the world. Design as the players explore. Don't even make a world map. You know, just draw the areas one at a time. Nobody cares about what's in the frozen plains of McAllister. Shout out to Robert. If they're never going to go there, and if a player isn't from there, and if nothing that's happening now shows them any reason to be any interest in the frozen plains of McAllister. Shout out to Robert. So don't make a world map. Just design it as the players explore. Start small. Think from the side. Think from, the world is basically just another dungeon for them to explore. It's just a series of encounters. It's living in initiative. It's living in that idea that everything is something for them to interact with, for something for them to shape with, that you, the DM, are in charge. The world is the story you're telling and how they interact with that story. This whole let the players do whatever they want, even if what they want is to burn your village down and kill every NPC and run off in every direction. No, that stops now. You're on the road, you're adventurers, bam. There are consequences for your actions. The world is just a series of encounters connected by doors, and those doors are the resting points, the points where they can go shopping. But remember, if you let them go shopping, they will spend 6 hours shopping. So keep shopping to a minimum. Town needs to be earned. Safety needs to be earned. The world is, for a while, just a series of dungeons. It's just encounters interconnected by doors. Sandboxes don't work because Even if you design this player character sandbox, this Kingmaker scenario, this West Marches scenario, they will sit around and go, well, what do you want to do? What are we supposed to do? Is there somebody here to tell us what to do? We're going to go talk to an NPC because we need to know what to do. They want you to tell them what to do, even if they don't say they want you to tell them what to do. I mean, the world has to have a compelling story. There's got to be a Skull Mountain somewhere, right? There's got to be some ancient prophecy linked to one of the characters. There's got to be the world's only talking dog and that wizard who knows stuff, but he makes you do 100 quests before he tells you. That's fine. That's all there. But the world is just encounters, combat counters, conflict counters, social counters, trap counters, inter-party encounter, making the party work together. So even if you do have somebody who wants to be evil and somebody who wants to be good, they can still work together and survive. And the world builds through how they interact with each other and how they interact with the world. The world is just a closed system. Don't over-design. Think small. Run dungeons for a fucking year. There's enough published stuff out there. You've got 50 years of old stuff, 90% of which most players have never read or seen because, there's other companies besides Wizards of the Coast TSR. So there's a virtual world filled with D&D role-playing history for you to mine and use. So you don't have to do any work because the work has been done for you. And even now, Wizards of the Coast and Pazio and all these other companies are still putting out product for this hobby, and for every one that sucks, there's one that's really amazing. So don't be afraid to crib. Don't be afraid to use stuff that's been done before. Don't be afraid to take 3 different adventures and mash them together to form a new adventure. Just remember, start small. Run dungeons, runs encounters. Your world is just a series of encounters with doors in them. And then what are the key notes of that world as they explore, and let the world be explored as they travel. If they're never going to go here, then you don't ever have to design here. You can maybe write down in your notes, oh, there is a vast north, look, I'm writing it down, ice area ruled by a lich. But are they going there right now? No. So, fuck it. Don't design it. Don't build it. Don't stand out the lich. Don't make the giant snow worms and the castles made out of ice. Where are they now? That's the only world that they see. What do they see at the horizon? What do they see right now? What is that noise in the bushes? That is the world. The world builds as they explore it. You don't need to over-design. You don't need this big design up front. You don't need a giant, gigantic world, a gigantic continent, a gigantic city. That will all grow in time. It takes dozens and dozens of years to build worlds. I mean, look, Ed Greenwood is still designing and refining and working on the Forgotten Realms, going on 30, 40 years. Okay? Keith, the guy who designed Eberron, still designing Eberron. Okay? There are still people designing Star Wars stories, and still people designing Marvel and DC stories, and still people designing Middle-earth stories, even though those worlds have been plundered to death for stories. But those worlds never are finished. And your world's never going to be finished. So there's absolutely no reason for you to have that big design day one. Don't come up and say, I've built this world, and it's huge, and it's Game of Thrones, and it's Critical Role, and it's Middle-earth, and it's going to take the player characters 70 years to see everything, and I've got this book with the alphabets and hundreds of pages for each city, and I've got a page for each NPC. No. Bam. No. Stop that. Start small. Run dungeons. The world is a series of encounters. Have those encounters tell a compelling story so the player characters feel engaged and don't want to just kill NPCs and burn down towns and be murder hobos. Unless that's the kind of campaign you want to run. Because there's nothing wrong with a kick open the door, kill everything in the room, and take its stuff murder hobo campaign. But a murder hobo campaign doesn't work in the city of Sandwichville. It works in the dungeons of Sandwichville. But if they start murder hoboing the villages, there's consequences. Like, you can't shop in that store anymore because you killed the guy running the shop. So make them engage, which is what the backstories are for. Make them come up with a reason to work together and still work together and not kill each other because Jimmy the thief stole Susan's the thief's cloak for some reason. I mean, that might happen, but you kind of want to avoid that. You kind of want to build the world and the story with them. The game is just encounters. You're living in initiative. You're living in that constant threat that you're one dice roll away from dying when you're out in the wilderness. And when you're home safe in the village, your job is to keep the village safe so you can come back to it later. Make them earn town. Make them earn that shop that sells the +1 grappling hook. Make them earn the safety of a short rest by making the world just a sequence of encounters connected by doors. Those doors can be roads, those doors can be rest stops, those doors can be cities, but the world builds as they explore. The world builds as they interact. You don't need to know what's down there and spend 6 days designing, an entire section of the city and an entire section of the world. Just run those dungeons, run those encounters, run those small little self-contained stories. Start your very first game with just one encounter, a group of players, and that encounter. And that's why starting in a dungeon in a jail is such a great thing, because it's a self-contained, closed environment, and you limit it their options, and you give them more of a reason to explore and interact and work together, and that sense of timing that we're on the schedule now, we're on the clock, guys. We've got 10 minutes to get out of this room before the next shift of guards, and if you just start them on the road, they hear a noise, then they don't have time to go, well, let's go burn the village, let's go back to town and shop, let's go wander off because I thought I saw a dove and my character wants to tame the dove. It's like, no, you hear a noise in the bushes. This is the world now. And if you survive this, then you'll get to see the next part of the world over here. And if you survive that, then you can see the next part of the world over here. But don't worry about the vast north ice area ruled by the Lich, when their main concern is the goblins in the bushes. And you can use goblins for like 10 levels just by making them tougher and more interactive and have more options. I mean, the encounters don't have to be progressively tougher just because the PCs are getting progressively tougher. It doesn't have to be a manticore because they defeated your goblins and you feel like upset because they defeated your goblins. If they beat your goblins, great, they beat your goblins. It doesn't have to be, the next encounter now is a hit point sink because I'm angry. No, it's just like, okay, it'll just be more goblins, different goblins. Because the world is telling you a story, and it doesn't make any sense for there to be a manticore after the goblins, but it does make sense for there to be more goblins. So again, world design, break it down. Ignore this big design up front mentality. Ignore this, the players get to do whatever they want and have whatever they want mentality. Start small, start with just one encounter, run dungeons. And if you agree with what I have to say down below, comment down below. And if you don't agree with what I have to say, comment down below. Hit that notification button so you always know what's going on at the OGG Adventures, and it helps me because of the algorithm. Subscribe if you haven't had a chance to subscribe yet. Support me through the various ways you can support me by being awesome. And above all, I will talk to you losers later. Wow, 15 whole minutes of me talking about nothing.